basically, as I understand this game, like HEX started, and any Bitcoin holder could get HEX. They could get an airdrop. So HEX actually has like Bitcoin OGs in HEX. Okay. Second of all, anyone who got to HEX early, it was very, very, very low prices, especially after launch when it dipped super hard. So there's people who are whales in HEX, and then there's people who just got big bags. And depending on how you staked it, determined your destiny. So like some people would do big stakes, some people would do staking ladders, some people would do tiny micro stakes, some people wouldn't even stake. It was like all this game theory. And I'm putting this together as coach, and I'm trying to like get in reality of PulseChain 2024 right now. Why are things the way they are? So I'm like looking back on everything, and I'm realizing all of this HEX is basically HEX whales and then big dudes who got a bunch of HEX when it was cheap. If they're staking, they're constantly putting out yield. It's kind of like a diamond mine. Like if you dig into the earth and you see diamonds, if you start uncovering them and then like taking them up to the surface and selling them at market, what are you doing? You're adding more supply. And I started learning that fundamental principle is giving that original group of people who got in early, like an ability to stake and have yield come out, which is just going into the diamond mine and bringing diamonds out. And they're not actually like losing their original principle if they do it a certain way. So there's ways to like game theory this product that some people did, and they were able to like grow fat bags. And then we had this thing called the sacrifice. The sacrifice for PulseChain, I'm now realizing like was a necessary step in the community's evolution, because what happened with this diamond mine in HEX is like a lot of people kept bringing diamonds up to the surface. And then when you want to sell them, like they need to be sold. But there wasn't enough liquidity on the open market. There wasn't enough like cash buyers for the diamonds. There was like too many diamonds coming out for sale, not enough buyers. There was only $4 to $7 million in liquidity pool at different times. So one of those diamond miners, one of those HEX whales, like they couldn't sell their whole bag all at once, because their bag's worth like, 50 million, 100 million, but there's only 7 million in the liquidity pool. So they can't actually like do all that. The slippage would be crazy. Like the best thing to do is trickle sell. So there was an establishment of like, there was this understanding of these people at the time. Like people figured it out. Like, okay, like there's whales in this HEX game. If you get stakes going, if you ladder them out, you can like strategically put yourself where your yield coming out, like these diamonds from the mine, you can start hustling these things in the right way. It's pretty awesome. So the only problem with this was that the exit liquidity pool was too thin. So people couldn't really like get out. So what do you do when you have all these diamonds and you want to like get them for cash? Suddenly we had the sacrifice, and the sacrifice, you could now trade your HEX for something called PulseChain. So like that's when I got here, and I'm freaking out about PulseChain, and I don't have HEX. So I'm coming in with stock market funds. I'm coming in with my own economic energy, and I bring all the people I possibly can here, and we all got lit. All of us, you guys know, anyone who was here during PulseChain talk, like it was crazy. I realized what actually happened is like a lot of HEX was transferred. So all that HEX that was transferred, PulseChain was given out as a reward for sacking at 10,000 to $1. So what I want y'all to understand is like those original HEX whales, and then those HEX OGs who had big bags from buying at the right time, who staked properly and like kept growing their bags, they became pulse whales. Do you guys understand that? It's like their HEX translated over. And what I call that is like the diamond transfer. Do you guys understand? You're mining HEX diamonds and you have a bunch of them. This new PulseChain stack, like you could transfer over those diamonds into PulseChain, and now you have like PulseChain diamonds. And that's what people did. Like that first stack raised $600 million. So like a portion of that was HEX, and a portion of that was stables, and a portion of that was other tokens. So all of that together was our SAC. We didn't launch our blockchain. It all went to one address. When a blockchain launches and it's live, if $600 million came into that blockchain, that thing would we got our first guest. Let me just finish up real quick. So that $600 million, as I understand it, would moonrun so hard that like that economic energy is not in the chain. It's in one wallet address that we all sacked for freedom of speech. And we got behind a movement. Then there's PulseX. PulseX was another transfer where you could do the same thing with HEX, and you could get in or with stables or with other tokens. So I'm now like realizing the reality of the game is like, okay, we had HEX whales, originally BTC OGs come into HEX, HEX turn into PulseChain, PulseChain turn into PulseX, which is like multiple diamond transfers.